estimular la creatividad de la gente para ver y crear nuevas formas de uso de los desechos.
Awakening and encouraging people to see and create new ways to use natural resources and waste.
Muchas gracias
So this is what we have today. Thank you for your attention,
por tomarse este tiempo.
for taking this time to.
Yo sé que ustedes deciden cosas bien importantes.
You decide very important things.
Esta ciudad en cada atardecer y en cada despertar
This city, every sunset and every dawn,
nos regala vida,
gives us life,
nos regala colores,
gives us colors,
nos regala música.
gives us music.
Y de eso ustedes pueden ayudarme a hacer de esto una realidad.
And this way you can help us make this a reality.
Juntos podemos hacer.
We can do it.
Tenemos que cambiar.
We just have to change
Hacer que la gente disfrute sus monumentos, que sienta su ciudad.
and make people be part of the monuments, be part of the city. I love Homestead.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
So stay there. I'm sure there'll be some questions. So, Mr. Manager, what's staff looking for from council?
Kind of direction, if this is something that you guys or the council's interested in, we could sit down with Mr. Mata and kind of talk to see, what it would really take to do this type of project, and then bring it back to you all, if this is something you want to pursue.
And this would be proposed to be funded from the Art and Public
Art in
Places?
public places, yes, sir.
But we don't have a price tag yet.
No, we'd have, once again, instead of going through the whole process with them, we wanted to see if this is something you all be interested in.
Council, I'll open up the floor. Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. I love your energy. I love your energy. You love this city, clearly. And I think it's amazing that you have a proposal to activate a space that is just stagnant. Color, with music, with sound, with life. I am really interested in this and how we can move forward to ensure that it is tasteful, it's classy, it looks nice. So thank you for your vision for this city, and I'm really excited about the prospects of revitalizing and energizing that space.
Yo creo que no es casualidades, que esto ha debido ser para mi ciudad y ustedes lo tienen aquí porque mi ciudad está en crisis.
I don't believe in things being done by chance. So this is a project for my own city, but my own city is in crisis, and I had to come to the States. So this was going to another city, and it's coming here now.
Creo en Dios,
I believe in God.
no hay casualidades.
There's nothing by chance.
Dios tiene un plan para Homestead.
And God has a plan for this city.
Como autoridades
And you are authorities.
pueden mover a la gente,
You can move people.
mover a la gente.
Move people.
Y yo estoy aquí por Dios, porque si no estaría en mi país.
And I'm here because of him, because otherwise I'll be in my country.
Ya como arquitecto,
As an architect, I didn't have anything.
músico,
And as a musician,
y amo a los niños.
and I love the children too.
Ahorita soy profesor, pero mi profesión es la arquitectura.
So I'm teaching kids right now, but my profession is being an architect. Thank you.
Right. Yes, I was reading that you teach children
Yeah.
in several schools, and I see one in actually in Coral Gables also. So I'm interested in hearing more. So I think this conversation should continue. Thank you so much.
Hey, Councilman Fletcher?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So,
Más del proyecto. No, ahora.
Ah, ok. Ya, pues.
so you can tell he's very passionate about what he does. I can't understand every word you're saying, but some of them I can, and I think it's very beautiful. The imagination to come up with something like this has to be, looked at, because we all look at it as a rectangle box walking through there. I never would have thought of anything like this. So very interested to see what the city could come up with and move this forward. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Taylor?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it sounds really interesting. I think we've got some opportunities where we can really showcase natural things from Homestead and tie it into some type of recycling, reduce, reuse program. Pero me encanta. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. I think there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of zen in the city. And if it's at City Hall or somewhere else in the city that you think it would be more appropriate, I'm open to hearing of the different options and ideas. I would love to have something that is out of the box, is attractive, is Instagrammable, that will bring positive attention to areas like this. I just want to make sure that we, that we have something at the end of the day that can last and that can tolerate the elements, and that is going to be appreciated by, the frequent visitors of whatever area we put it in. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rowe? Well, okay. While Ms. Sorrentino's coming down, let me ask. Well, we don't have any idea what the price tag is yet. My concern is these are not necessarily all durable materials. That this would be, it would deteriorate, over time. It wouldn't be a permanent placement of art. So I guess my concern is does the art master plan that we adopted even, contemplate this type of installation, because it deteriorates, and I want to choose my words carefully, because clearly we've talked about having temporary revolving art displays versus something that doesn't necessarily last forever. So I want to make that distinction there. So, I'm intrigued by this. Again, as I've said, I'm the guy that can't draw a straight line with a ruler when it comes to art. I think, as Councilman Fletcher said, we look at that as really an architect's dream run amok out here, at least I do, that would really perhaps add something there. But just thinking out loud, depending upon the price tag, perhaps if we wanted to go forward with this, it could be accomplished with other than art in public places money, so that we don't diminish that fund that is set aside for more permanent installations, across the spectrum. So, I'd be interested to see, what an estimated, lifetime for this would be, as well as, the cost. I think Councilwoman Avila, you hit on it, that there are many different places this could go, if not here, perhaps on a smaller or even larger scale, somewhere else where there's more different foot traffic. I think the foot traffic that we have out here right now is same people, same groups all the time. But we'll get to that. But I'd like to hear from our former Art Committee Chairman, Ms. Sorrentino.
Hi. In listening to the presentation, I would not recommend it for these reasons. There's probably 3 or 4. The first one is, you alluded to it, it's using art in public places money for something that's temporary. Here today, gone tomorrow. Then the money's gone too. We have a lot of permanent things that are in the works, that were on the work plan, and that would be a priority. Number 2, I think it was said that it was presented to Art in Public Places in 2022. I was chairwoman there, and this is the first time I'm seeing this. Also, people in the plaza, anytime I drive by, it's a lot of homeless people kind of sleeping on the benches. And I envision this getting vandalized. I'm just being honest. Our police department has better things to do than to control vandalism for a temporary art project. I would just encourage you the funds are not endless. They're not going to go forever. So save those funds for what's on the work plan, which is the William Crome. I see we're going to look at it today. The mega mural, other smaller murals that will be co-funded, and then the sports arena. We envision a big welcoming sculpture there is on the work plan, and art all throughout there. I think that's a priority, personally. The gentleman, it seems that he's from somewhere other than here. He said his country is in turmoil, and that's why he's here. So I wonder why we don't do a call to artists if you want something in that tunnel. It's all of you are the new Public Art Committee. If you want something in that tunnel, do a call to artists. And it could be something interactive and permanent, you know? So it could be a lot of different things. So that would be my recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrentino. Any further public comment? I'm sure you've been through the agenda. Any input, Vice Mayor? No, sir. Okay. Yes, Councilwoman.
Yes. I don't think we should just box ourselves in with permanent art. If you look outside of the city, there are so many municipalities that have rotating art in their community, and it draws people to the community. So I don't want us to get in this mindset that everything has to be permanent. It may not be this artist. I'm saying that the concept is very creative. And however we can get to it to activate that space, I think is a great idea. But I don't think we should just box ourselves into permanent art. You look at Doral, you look at Coral Gables, you look at all these places, beautiful art that draws people. And even if there are some homeless people there, with something there to activate that space, I think it'll draw more people to come there who probably would have never imagined going to convene in that space. So I think it's worthy of another conversation to think about how we can activate that space, whether it's this artist or any other artist. Thank you.
Can he make a comment on the temporary thing?
Esto que yo propongo es uso temporal, porque también debemos recordar que los monumentos tienen una carga del pasado.
Yeah, this is in fact is temporary, and it has to do with the fact that the monuments has some load from the past, and this is about revitalizing.
Quisiera pensar en un niño.
When I think of a child,
Antes y después de pasar por ese túnel sonoro. Cuando lo quitemos, ¿qué pasó?
before and after they go through that tunnel,
Eso es sentir la ciudad, pensar en la
that's
ciudad.
in the city.
Por eso es que es temporal.
That's why it's temporary.
Quiero decir que ese sistema puede servirnos después para otras exposiciones.
That system can be used for other things because the structure is permanent. It's just that it's mounted right, and so it can be used with other things.
Pero es uso temporal.
But my project here about that is temporary, yes.
And Mayor, if I can.
Yes, certainly.
Once again, we were just asking if this concept is something you're all interested in. And to Councilwoman Fairclough's point, we were thinking of bringing like an exhibitional art display to Losner, which would have been during the summer, and then after that, it would have been gone. But I think it just lends to a conversation. What if the cost is $5,000? What if the cost is $10,000, which would be minimal? And to Mrs. Sorrentino's point, obviously, we're not going to go through all the Art in Public Places money, but are you all interested in a conversation? We could talk to Mr. Mata and see if we could work something out, then bring that back to council.
Okay, just to see what the price tag and the logistics may be, and we go from there.
Yeah, we
Some
might-
input from the police department and CRA as to the
Of course.
appropriateness of the location and the downside of that
Absolutely.
and the upsides. So we'll proceed with staff.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, Mr. Manager, tab 2, car number 4062, the freebie homestead update.
Thank you, Mayor. On August 23rd, 2023, Mayor and Council approved staff's recommendation for the city to enter into an agreement with Be Free LLC DBA Freebie, a turnkey on-demand transportation service in the designated area in Exhibit 2 during the designated hours, subject to a Miami-Dade County-approved interlocal agreement. A public hearing is required prior to service launch to allow for public comments and questions regarding the on-demand transportation service, and we have someone here from Freebie to go ahead and do a presentation.
Good evening, welcome. If you'll give us your name and address for the record, and have at it.
Wonderful. Okay. Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor and esteemed council and commission, as well as folks here from the wonderful city of Homestead. It truly is an honor to be here to talk about Freebie, and one of the most prolific, effective, and innovative method of public transportation in our lifetime. And we are excited to be here as well to talk about what the vision is, what the possible program would look like, what the service would entail, and how we would be able to carry out this wonderful program here in the great city of Homestead. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be here to talk to you folks today. And I'll keep this relatively short here. I know you guys have, okay. We'll just we'll kick it off with just a little bit about what Freebie is. Freebie is a 100% electric, free, on-demand, door-to-door public transportation service in which we combine the concepts of Uber, where one downloads a free app and are able to request the rides through our Ride Freebie app. We also incorporate the elements of Yelp, where within the Ride Freebie app, there is a guide to the city. So where are all the great places to go on a weekend? Where are all the fantastic, new, and innovative projects that are existing? And I see all of the fantastic new developments that are here, and it really is exciting, and it's a testament to all the good work that you folks have done. All of these great construction projects do present challenges, and those challenges present opportunities. And those opportunities, which we like at Freebie, we like to call, are just that. They're opportunities to bring people together. And so we're excited to talk about that a little bit here today. There we go. These are just a few of the other municipalities that we serve. We are in Isla Mirada, Florida City. We are also in Coral Gables, Coconut Grove, Pinecrest, Palmetto Bay. Soon, fingers crossed, hope to be here as well. But then the app itself does apply to all of these municipalities that we operate in. So that app you are able to use in all of our municipalities. And Homestead, the great city of Homestead, will be our 34th municipality that we will be operating in and around. I mentioned a little bit about the challenges and opportunities, and those challenges and opportunities will allow us to do a few things for you folks. We see the great work that you all have done with the BRT system, the bus rapid transit stations that are being built up. We will be able to alleviate the congestion in around the area, but we will also be able to bring people to and from these stations. This is a concept that we refer to as first mile and last mile within the transportation terminology of things. We're able to pick people up from their homes, and we're able to take them to the stations. What this will do is this will increase the ridership of those existing transit entities, the buses. There will be more people that will be riding the trains. There will be more people that will be out and about because we will be able to pick people up from their homes, bring them to the stations, and we'll be able to pick them up from the stations and then take them to their final destinations. The second component is economic development, where I mentioned earlier that within the app, there is a guide to the city. So you guys have a thriving and growing downtown area. We will be able to bring people from the residential districts to that downtown area. And I will show you folks a little bit later about what the proposed city service area would look like. But then the third item, what we like to highlight, is providing access to the gated communities of Homestead. We will be able to pick people up from those gated communities, and we will be able to bring them into the downtown and shopping district. All right. The direct benefits that we are excited to bring here to Homestead is I mentioned the first mile, last mile connectivity. We will be able to connect the local business district with the surrounding gated communities. We'll be able to pick people up from those areas, the residential districts, and bring them to the downtown business district. What this will do is this will increase economic development opportunities for the downtown businesses. What that does is it encourages folks to get out and support local businesses, which is something that we take great pride in. We love our chains. We love the TGI Fridays. We love Home Depots. We love the Walmarts. But what we really love is the small mom and pop stores. We love the small local businesses, the restaurants, all the folks that have come from so far and so many miles to start up a small business. And so we will be able to take people to those local businesses and provide each of those local businesses with a free profile within the Ride Freebie app. Again, what this does is it generates a buzz, and it gives the local businesses a platform in which they are able to generate a bit of a buzz and generate some exposure as being part of the program. And the third component is where we're able to connect the gated communities of the east side of Homestead to the greater downtown area. I mentioned the economic development and the quote-unquote Yelp component of our app. This is what it looks like. So the home screen of our Ride Freebie app, where one opens it up and they're able to see different tabs. They're able to see deals. They're able to see where the great places to eat are. But then also those restaurants and those businesses are able to offer promotions. They're able to offer incentives. They're able to showcase their happy hours. They're able to showcase their percentages or their prices. People are able to make their reservations through the app. And that's one of the ways that we're able to encourage people to get out and support these local businesses by providing them this platform. Our drivers are community ambassadors. We hire, and we take great pride in this. We take great pride in recruiting folks from the community, from the local areas, whereas these folks will be able to assist people with their groceries. They'll be able to help folks in and out of the vehicles. And that's one of the ways that we're able to differentiate ourselves from other companies, whereas we take great pride in making sure that we are entrenched in the great city of Homestead by making sure that our drivers are locals, and they will all stand out. We have high standards where we screen our drivers. Everything is licensed. We go through a very rigorous process of making sure that all of the vehicles are the safest vehicles on the road, and we really enjoy that process, and that's one of the great ways that we're able to get to know each community that we're involved in. Marketing, how do we get the word out about the service? We take great pride and we have a lot of fun with this. The outreach, I'm part of the outreach team where we are out and about in the neighborhoods. We're able to go door to door. We're able to introduce ourselves to the business owners. We're able to introduce ourselves and show the customers of each business how to use the program, how to effectively take advantage of the service that we do provide, and then they're able to share, like, comment, etc., on their various social medias, their various technological advanced ways of getting the word out, so to speak, to not only their clients, but also the community as a whole. We also use technological advances with the data collection on how we're able to collect the data. Where are people going? When are they traveling? These are ways that we're not only able to effectively communicate the ridership to you folks, but we're also able to offer a more efficient service to the local businesses. We're able to let them know, say, hey folks, this is where the people are going from your communities. This is what time of day that people are going to and to where. And so we're able to effectively communicate that to folks through our ability to collect the data. I mentioned a little bit about the buses and how you folks are building these great new stations. I did mention, I hope I did, and what's one of the most important components about our program is that all of our vehicles are 100% electric. While we do love buses, we do love more formal modes of transportation, we do take great pride in the fact that all of our vehicles are 100% electric. And so we will be able to take people from their homes and then also bring them to the bus station. This is what has been proposed. So you see the yellow areas is the downtown district, and so the green area is the residential district. So all of the rides must either begin or end in the green area. So essentially, people from the residence, you can take a ride from your homes to the yellow area, which is the downtown business district. You can also take a ride and request a ride in and around the downtown business district. But you just can't go to and from your friend's house in the green district. We have 3 ways of, and this is a question I get a lot, well, how do I get a ride? Particularly if you're somebody like me and who is technologically challenged, as my son likes to say, with Dad, you're just not with it. But we do have a fantastic user-friendly app, and the app in your app store is called Ride Freebie, so you can download the app, the Ride Freebie app, and request a ride that way, just like you would with Uber. But you also are able to call our dispatch hotline, and so our dispatch call number will be on all of our marketing pieces, all of our brochures, all of our business cards, and all of our social media. We'll be able to let folks know that is a effort and is a way that people can receive a ride. Or if you just see one of our vehicles out and about, wave us down. We call that, we can flag down a vehicle, which is also a fun way to get to know your community ambassador or your driver. And that's about it. Are there any questions that I open up to question and answering?
Thank you. Mr. Manager, my first obvious question was from the last slide that doesn't appear to be any service to the hospital or the Campbell corridor. Because if Harris Field appears to be the easternmost yellow box, we don't provide for folks to get to or from the hospital or take advantage of that, ever-developing East Campbell corridor, commercial corridor. Was that intentional? Or?
Yes, Mayor. The intent is to bring people to the downtown, right? So make it easy for them to jump, once again, from the residential areas. Call Freebie, takes you down to the downtown. Like you mentioned, the hospital, if somebody's in the downtown and wants to go to the hospital, they'll be able to take them to the hospital as well. But the thing is, like, if you're at Oasis and then you want to go down to the villages, you know, because you want to go to your friend's house, as the example was, that's not really conducive to what we're trying to do, which is trying to get people to the downtown area of the city.
No, I understand the downtown part, but at some point, you know, there are folks from Southwest Homestead that this could be very beneficial to either get themselves taken to the hospital on a non-emergency basis or visit family there, or for anyone in the community to get dropped off in, you know, the new restaurant project.
Well, Mayor, we can certainly, if it's the will of the council, we can certainly work with Freebie on adjusting the service area. And we did actually just receive notification that for fiscal year 2025, we have an expansion grant for this program. So in the upcoming fiscal year 25, we would have the option to, at no additional cost to the city, expand service area or expand vehicles or service hours.
Okay, so we'll see. You know, and I think we can probably have a way to monitor the request for service that we don't currently provide. And, you know, probably by then those 4 or 5 new restaurants will be up and running. I don't know, take the Freebie to the Chick-fil-A someday. But, yeah, and the hospital and medical services as well. So yeah, that's, as sick as it sounds, we know that 25 is just around the corner. All right, so this was just informational. I understand we're required to have a public hearing.
Yes, if you could open it up to the public.
All right, Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers, I think you wanted to weigh in.
Yes, thank you. I think initially the goal was for economic development and to help drive economic development and support our downtown district. I think it's wonderful to consider expanding with the expansion grant to the hospital and to the areas in Oasis where we're going to have all these restaurants and Restaurant Row. So I think that's a great idea for our expansion efforts. But for the edification of the public, it's important to understand that this was an economic development initiative. So that is why the downtown was the area, the zone that we wanted to draw people to. But we can definitely expand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any further? Yes, Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that presentation. Very excited, of course, about the electrical cars. Kudos on doing your part. Just as you guys noticed that there was a need for this last mile piece, right? We also have a really big need with after-school programs. Have there ever been any discussions where you could help be that extra mile for some of our children to finish school, go to their after-school program, and go home?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the unique components about our program is that we customize it for every single municipality that we're in. And we're in, and each program has started out as a pilot program. Hey, we'll test it out. We'll see what works. We'll see what doesn't. We'll see where people are going. We'll see what hours people are going. Do we want to expand the service area? Add vehicles. The vehicles itself and the amount and how many vehicles are in the service area directly impacts wait times. And so that's something to also consider, and that's fantastic that the grant is on the table, because we do have that applied to several other of our municipalities. And to answer your question directly, absolutely. We love young people. We love families. In fact, families count on us to provide that safe method of a way to get their child home from school without the parent having to leave the office to pick their child up. They can, again, the fact that we hire and screen and attract and recruit local residents. Often these folks are our neighbors. Often they're the drivers themselves, our members of the communities that we're serving. And so the fact that we're doing that has been proven to be really successful in our other service areas. And I mean, we're excited to be able to bring the program here, and I absolutely feel that we would be able to do something like that. Absolutely.
I'm very happy to hear that. So when we're considering what we're doing for that expansion, then please also just keep in mind there are a lot of parents that are Ubering to schools. So of course we can give the priority for this economic development portion, but if they are available and not being used, if we can help some parents. We've had some major issues for some reason this year with our public school buses. Not taking into account the gated communities and saying, well, the bus is only 25 feet from your house when there's a fence right there. So if we can take that into account and just try to do better to help these parents that are working and allow their children to attend whatever after-school program they would like to.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
if I may just chime in some municipalities, we have vehicles that are dedicated specifically for just that. And we have electric vans. We do have the Teslas, but we also have other vehicles in our fleet and at our disposal, so that can certainly be applied down the road. But to the point about the economic development component of the business model, when people are not spending the money on Ubers and Lyfts to just get to and from, then they're able to spend the money at the local businesses, and they're able to be assisting with paying rent and bills and all that other stuff. So it's all part of that overall freebie experience.
I would love to hear more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Vice Mayor Guzman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that presentation. I think freebie is a great concept. I did want to ask just a few questions regarding the time. Is it a 24-hour service?
Great question. So I believe, now these are just what's been proposed, is that it's a overall, I believe, a 53 or 58-hour program, but then the times and the operating hours of operation, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I have a Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., 2:30 to 6:30 p.m. in efforts to capture the commuting, that commuters group. But then also Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., so that would be all day Saturday, Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I believe that's what we would have to...
Yes, I believe the Friday hours are a little later. I believe the Friday hours we go till 10.
Yes,
but yeah,
Friday 6:30 a.m., excuse me. Yep, Monday through Friday, until 9:30, or excuse me, yeah, until 9:30 a.m. until 10 p.m., correct.
Yeah.
But again, that's the beauty of the program, is that we can work with, we can
Yeah.
customize it, and the data that we collect, we're able to say, hey, this is what works, this is what doesn't, these are the times that people are traveling.
Agreed. And the ambassadors that are going to be driving the vehicles, are they Homestead residents or they're just employees of
We
Freebie?
prefer that. That's
Okay.
what we like. We like to hire local. We do all of that. So we're complete turnkey operation. We hire, we do the background checks, we do all of the insurance with the vehicles, the charging stations. We oversee all the marketing and all the outreach, but then also the economic development components, and as well as just operational components within the app. So the app development, all of the tech hardware, software that goes into the upkeep and such. But so we do all of that.
So at the end of the day, those ambassador drivers just drive up to headquarters, charge the car, and then they come back the next day?
Yeah, yes, they do, correct. And so so typically what happens is the drivers or community ambassadors, we have charging stations where we house all the vehicles. And when they arrive at the charging stations to start their day, they sign in. They're able to take the vehicle out. And again, we have a full monitoring system, a full workforce monitoring system, as well as the dispatch call center. So we're able to monitor the calls and monitor the drivers on real time. Cameras are inside and outside and around the vehicles, as well as the charging stations. The community ambassadors or drivers, they're able to take the vehicles out and then service ride requests either through the app, which it comes through their iPad that's built into the dash there, or they're able to have the dispatch calls that get fed right into the app. And so we're able to effectively collect the data, all of the data, all of the ride requests we're able to monitor. We're able to, but then also in the middle of the day when the drivers or community ambassadors, when they're going on their lunch break, that's when they supercharge their car.
Okay.
And the cars themselves are able to jump back up to 100%, just so we don't skip a beat on the service.
And just to clarify, the local station for charging will be at Homestead Station. We're already working with Freebie on locating the chargers there.
Excellent. Excellent. And if one of the drivers is en route, from somewhere on the east side over to downtown Homestead, and they're alone, and a person on the street flags them down, will they stop and pick up that person that's flagging them down?
They can, but then it's also it also falls under the service area, and depending on where they're at, obviously that'll come into play where if they're flagged down in the residential area and someone asks them to take them to their friend's house in a few blocks down the road, they'll happily, respectfully say no, we're not unable to do that. But the design of the program is to effectively encourage people to support the local business district, and so that's but they are able to be flagged down. Let's say they're in the downtown area, and they just say, hey, I need a ride down the street to catch some dessert or something like that. Then they would be able to carry out.
So those cars comfortably fit 3-4 passengers or more?
Yes, and sometimes 5, depending on the type of. I believe we have the Model Y Teslas, or the Model X Teslas, depending on it's a fun and a great way for people to get in and around, particularly when you have the elements. You have Mother Nature just watering the plants. She's having a rainstorm, but then the existing transit entities with the BRT doesn't skip a beat because we're able to carry out the first and last mile component of the transportation entities, so where we're able to take people to the stations, whereas before they may just stay at home or they may call in sick if their weather is not.
No, I think it's a great start to the program here in Homestead, and I'm sure the data is going to give a lot of information on how we should tweak and adjust, moving forward. So thank you for the presentation, and we're excited about seeing this start in Homestead.
We're excited as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's open it up for public comment. Ms. Sorrentino, come on down.
Hi, I think it would be great if, I couldn't tell from the map if Dickinson Community Center is in that. Is it in there? I can't see it.
No, it wasn't in there.
It wasn't? Well, consider doing that, because there are a lot of senior residents living on the east side that would like to go to the community center, which is just down the road on Chrome from downtown. So I think that would be, a great benefit. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hello, sir. I am a resident of Homestead. I know guys have been working on the trolley. You've added a few routes. Had a question. Would you be working in combination with the trolley to deliver the passenger to downtown?
So yes, the idea of this service is to provide a further first and last mile connection. So for instance, the trolley doesn't actually go inside the gated communities. This would help get people out from inside the gated communities out to be able to have access with the trolley. And of course, with the Trolley Tracker app, you can track your ride, and you'll soon be able to get a freebie as well.
Also, why would someone take the trolley if they could take the freebie to
So the trolley services different areas that Freebie may not. So like we were mentioning, there would be no, if you were in Oasis and you wanted to go to Keysgate, right? The Freebie's not gonna let you do that, but you could maybe take your Freebie to downtown, get the trolley from downtown, and make your other connection.
Another question, with all those Teslas, that's gonna be a lot of congestion in the downtown area, right?
Three to start.
Three to start.
3 Teslas?
And the design of the program is to complement the existing transit entities. So trolleys, we love trolleys. We love buses. We love what's already there. And our goal is to bring people to those stations, pick people up from the gated communities, the residential communities, and take them to the bus stations, the trolley stations. And to your point about the congestion, the fact that there's so much great new development, that signifies growth, and we love that. We're a part of that, and so we want to alleviate the congestion. We want to encourage folks to leave your cars at home. And seniors, we love seniors. We work very closely with seniors, particularly when there are so many fantastic different programs. There's health and wellness programs. There's great festivals and events that are occurring, and we want people to get out and about and support all of those great things that are happening here. So that's a big part of what we do.
That's good. I like it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on public comment? All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so
Look
much.
forward to it. Yes, Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. For the expansion discussions in the future, if we can just make sure that we're independently auditing or monitoring the data collection so that that information is.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
All right. If all of the proposed artists are ready to go, is there any objection to jumping to tab 11? Well, they're all here and we won't hang those up. And so we don't mind. We will deviate now to tab 11, which is the first public presentation of the proposals for the William J. Crome sculpture from the Art in Public Places Fund. So is this yours or Development Services?
Yeah, I'll punt this one to David.
There you go.
Thank you.
Didn't he change his name to Dennis? Right?
Get that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is an informational item for Mayor and Council, discussion and provision of direction on the Commission of Public Art. As each of you may recall, the city looked at this back in April, May, and June of this year. We did have 6 artists submit submissions, and they were reviewed by the City Internal Selection Committee. Shortlisted 3 finalists for City Council consideration for the William Julius Crome sculpture feature. The 3 finalists are Lee Lunig, Carlos Luna, and Carlos Enrique Prada. The artists are recommended based on previous artistic accomplishment, public art experience, and approach to the project. The shortlisted artists are present at the meeting tonight to present their shortlisted design. The artists have created a 5-minute presentation or just available for question and answer. The intent is for each artist to provide background and details on their vision for the project, inclusive of the information provided in their final design package, which includes fabrication details, time frame anticipated, cost, and maintenance relationships.
Good, thank you. So who do we have? Are they in order of the agenda package?
I believe so.
All right, are we ready? Or
Mr. Lunig was going to present first.
Good evening and welcome to Homestead.
Thank you. We're here all the way from South Dakota, which is also homestead territory. My father's grandfather was a homesteader and went out in the prairies where there was nothing. And my mother's grandfather was a homesteader. So when we came here today, I said, you know, we really feel at home. And Sherry and I have been sculpting for 30 years. She was retired from art professor in high school, art teacher, the most acclaimed one in South Dakota. Me, not so much. I was a game ward. But 20 years left in our career, we started sculpting together after a course at Northern State, and since then we have placed over 300 sculptures across the United States. We have 143 in South Dakota, from bust to $1.5 million sculptures for major medical corporation. But we didn't start that way. We started right at the bottom, and we did and still do 25 sculpture walks across most of the Midwest. And over the last 20 years, and Sioux Falls started it. We've won the People's Choice 6 times, and that's a blind vote against artists from all across the United States. People's Choice. So it's not like you knew the judge. And we've runnered up 16 times. So that's, we're bona fide. And what we do is more Americana. We're very representational. That piece is just the first thing off our head. We found working with commissions, with cities and companies that give them the idea, but don't let your ego get in the way. The sketch isn't the thing, it's the context of it, and work with the people involved to develop a piece that's going to make everybody happy. And that's why we're so successful. There's no ego. Plus, we take critiques, and that's a hard thing for most artists to learn about. We've done 10 of the life-size, 11 of the presidents in Rapid City. A project was picked up similar to that to Pierre. We've done 10 governors, one each year. And we've done innumerable busts for the Sanford Corporation of people that are alive and noted. They have to look exactly like.
That's not easy.
It's not easy. But we get critiqued along the way. And we are very amenable to that. But we put realism, we put movement, we put expressions. And if you look at a lot of sculptures, everybody's big wide-eyed like this. Like, there's an example south of here. We never do that. Their eyes, the expression is in the eyes, and our eyes communicate. We have, we have a few things we do. There's always something in our sculpture that people can find. It's kind of like getting the jumble done in under a minute. You feel good about yourself. But when you discover that, you grab people and say, hey, look at this. Well, that makes it a 5-year sculpture, 10-year sculpture. You know, a lot of sculpture today, you walk by it and turn the corner, somebody says, what was that? And you go, we don't know. I forgot. It's 3-second art. We do bronze only, and bronze sculpture, there's 3,500 BC Chinese bronze sculpture that's 5,000 years. Now, we're from South Dakota, and we're not bragging. Well, kind of. But metallurgists now say the modern silico bronze will last 15,000 years.
But we only guarantee it for like 500.
No, we don't. 7,500. But that's it. We cut the line then. So it's resilient. There's no maintenance. You can wash it. It ages not at all. Most metal, ferrous metals, give it 50 years, it's gone. The paint's gone just like your 82 Ford Galaxy. No longer exists. It's the same paint process. Bronze, it reacts with the air. So, did you show some of our pieces? Okay, I've been yakking. Sherry has to put up with me. We've never missed a date.
That's not easy either.
We've never missed a deadline. Our bronze foundry, which we partner with, was inside of our studio. So we go over there and we supervise and hands-on in every step in the bronze making process, which is done by foundries. But instead of being 800 miles away in Loveland, we're right there. And they know our particularly tough standards. There are no flaws. There's no pits, there's no beads. I guess the biggest compliment I've shown people, black and whites of our sculpture, and they'll say, well, who is this guy? Where was it taken? I said, well, that's a bronze. They go, oh. So when you walk up to it, you connect with it, you study it, and you remember it. And the piece itself intrigues us because we had a list this long of his accomplishments with the development of the city and the orchards. But you know, it all started as a surveyor. He was the pathfinder to this entire community and the economic system all the way down to Key West. And that was at one moment in time. And that's all you can do with a sculpture. You can freeze a second. And it sprung upon us that, you know, that's the key point. He was, what he did and accomplished is why you're here today. So, Sherry?
Well, we try to do, we do art for the people. And being a teacher, you know, I've dealt with a lot of kids, and when kids like it and climb on it and look at it, you know you did something right. So, our vision for him, his hat's back on his head because it's dang hot.
Wiping the sweat.
Yeah, and he's out there, you know, working in the hot sun. He's got a vision.
He's squinting into the sun. When he's motioning to the staff, his field man to move over there, you know, just like a working surveyor. So he's on the job. He's got his notebook. All surveyors have got a notebook in their hand. So that's in his hand. He's got his LL Beans on. He's in the marsh, the jungle. I'd like to do a mosquito net, but that won't work in bronze.
It's tough to do in bronze.
You can't hide the welds on it. So
we try to put a lot of personality in ours too, besides looking like the person. That's important too. But you know, there's movement and balance. That's all the elements of design that we have to incorporate in addition to you know, making a personality. So it's easy on the eyes. It's easy to look at.
And the base is basic because we really had no information. It really isn't settled where it's going to go. That was a stump. It can be a broader, wider piece. It can have some native plants in it. It can elevate it. So don't judge the piece by the base because that's not the art. But a presentation will be what we can work out to make you happy with your architects and your grounds people. It's a lot.
Some questions?
Impressive across the board. I really.
We came a long
intrigued.
ways.
Yeah, I know you did.
You know, there's a lot in common. Out in South Coast and Warden, you get Florida people on their way to the Black Hills or Badlands. They were just as freaked out as we were coming down from the airport. We had a motorcycle go by at 180.
Right. And I'll say this from my perspective. This is for you and all of the other proposers. That, you know, we have one shot to get this right. You don't get to do it for another 5,000 or 10,000 years.
Yep.
I mean, Al Roll will probably still be here, but I think the rest of us will probably be gone. Historical accuracy. You know, I don't know that those boots were accurate, and down here in the hot and humid, the jacket may, you know, and fortunately, we still have members of Mr. Chrome's family, his descendants, who live in the area, who may have photographs, who may even have some of his survey tools.
Well, a lot of the governors, we work with the governor's family directly.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
But the experts, the old guys, on the Korean War,
Right.
the Vietnam War Memorial.
Sure.
On the M1, there was a bolt a punch for the action that they actually moved after, a couple years after the war.
And they
We
caught
had a
that.
late model,
Okay.
and he couldn't wait to run me down.
So, and the only other thing
Straighten that
is I hope that wherever we place the chrome sculpture, by whoever does it, that he's motioning and oriented toward Key West,
There you go.
which is surprisingly over there. It's not really down,
And that's
down here. So let's keep that in mind as well.
That's perfect because you can't photograph a north-facing sculpture. The sun is never right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if it's south, you can get it all day.
Got the sun behind your back.
So it's bright behind and dark in front.
All right. Good. Anything from council for this concept? I think Ms. Sorrentino, our resident artist gadfly, and I don't mean that in a bad way.
You sit down.
I just want to compliment this applicant, the motion, the expression, the gesture, the equipment that was used. I think that it looked beautiful, and it's on a tree stump. Maybe it could be on railroad tracks. Just a thought. I saw some of his examples where they were bigger than life. That looked exciting to me. I would hate for him to be like my height. I would love for him to be 8 or 9 feet tall, 10 feet tall, because this is a big plaza. He'll get lost if he's small. I think it should go big. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
We did James Madison, it's at James Madison University at his real height, 5'2". He's tiny. They recruited us back 5 years later, and when they developed a new section across the interstate in Harrisburg, he's 10 foot. The power is tremendous. Just going from, just being 6'5" gives them power. If they're your size, they don't have that. It's a perception, but he did a lot of powerful, meaningful, large things, and you want to glorify that just in his presence. He'll have the same physique, but he'll have this hero feeling.
So beyond that, are you going to take advantage of South Florida for a while you're
We did
here?
that.
Do you have to hurry home?
We did that. We went to Key West.
Very good.
There's more people from here down to there than South Dakota. Seriously. The whole state.
Well, and what's scary is the population of Homestead now exceeds the population of the entire Keys.
Wow.
Put that in perspective.
I thought it on the map, I said, well, that's a nice little town like we'd find in South Dakota. No, but it's been great. We've really enjoyed it. We enjoyed the trip. But the reason we're here is because this is what we love to do. Historical pieces.
It shows in your work.
It really, okay. That's, we'll wait to hear what happens.
Well, thank you for coming down tonight. Just
Thanks for
sit
having
tight. All right. Mr. Hennis?
Yes, the next presentation is from Carlos Luna, and I believe he's digitally online. Sorry, it's Carlos Prada that's online, and Carlos Luna is here.
Luna's
correct?
here. He's really surprised to hear he's online.
Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome.
Buenas tardes.
Good evening.
Ya, okay. Primero, muchas gracias por darme la oportunidad de presentar este proyecto.
First of all, thank you so much for allowing us to present this proposal.
Mi nombre es Carlos Luna, soy un artista nacido en Cuba hace 54 años.
My name is Carlos Luna. I am an artist born in Cuba.
El gobierno de los Estados Unidos me reconoció con la residencia EB-1 Visa, que reconoce a personas con capacidades extraordinarias.
The U.S. government granted me an EB-1 visa.
Gracias a esta visa he tenido la fortuna de ser residente del sur de la Florida por más de 20 años.
A visa that recognizes individuals for extraordinary abilities, and thanks to this visa, I have been fortunate enough to be a resident of South Florida for over 20 years.
Todos los que vivimos en el sur de la Florida somos privilegiados y nos hemos beneficiado de disfrutar el legado de William Crown.
All of us living here in South Florida are privileged and have benefited from enjoying the legacy of Mr. Chrome.
Es un honor para mí ser uno de los artistas escogidos para presentar este proyecto de escultura conmemorativa que honra su legado.
It is a real honor for me to be one of the artists chosen to present this commemorative sculpture project honoring his legacy.
Las dos propuestas están realizadas para resaltar las dos actividades fundamentales que definen la trascendencia del legado del señor Chrome.
Both proposals are designed to highlight the two fundamental activities that define the significance of Mr. Chrome's legacy.
La primera, ser el ingeniero responsable de crear la línea de tren que contacta la Florida con Los Cayos.
The first being the engineer responsible for creating the train line that connected South Florida to the Keys.
Y la segunda, su segunda pasión por desarrollar la agricultura en el área.
And his second, his passion for developing agriculture here in the Homestead area.
En ambas propuestas estarán realizadas En ambas propuestas de escultura decidí usar tres materiales principales. El bronce, que es el material indicado y más recomendado para monumentos conmemorativos.
In both sculpture proposals, I decided to use three primary materials: bronze, which is the most suitable and recommended material for commemorative monuments;
La piedra coral, que es un material típico del área.
coral stone, which is a local material;
Y la piedra de río para rellenar los cuadrantes alrededor de ambas propuestas.
and white river stone to fill the empty space for both proposals.
En este caso, la piedra de río quedaría fijada a cada uno de los cuadrantes por temas de seguridad.
And the white river stones will be fixed to the ground for safety purposes.
Los materiales tienen un alto nivel de durabilidad y bajo costo de mantenimiento.
These materials have a high level of durability and a low maintenance cost.
En la primera propuesta podemos ver que los extremos de la base en piedra sugieren la forma de la línea del tren.
In the first proposal, we can see that the stone basis ends suggest train lines.
Y los hice de esta manera para no competir con la escultura. Solo dejé en metal los brackets.
And I chose to do it this way as to not to compete with the bronze sculpture, leaving only the brackets in metal.
A su vez agregué 6 columnas de diferentes niveles.
At the same time, I added 6 columns of different heights.
Estos niveles nos hablan del desarrollo que fue logrando el señor Chrome y a su vez simbolizan las diferentes etapas de crecimiento de las plantas.
Each of these heights speaks about the progress Mr. Chrome achieved, as well as symbolizing the various growth stages of plants.
En la parte superior de los cilindros están grabados en bajo relieve algunas de las frutas que desarrolló, como el aguacate, los cítricos y el mango.
At the top of each cylinder, some of the fruits he developed, such as the avocado, citrus, mango, are engraved in bas relief.
En la parte frontal de la escultura abajo se puede ver, coloqué los datos de vida del señor Chrome.
At the sculpture's base, I placed Mr. Chrome's life details.
Aquí podemos ver más detalles, otro ángulo de la pieza.
And here are a few different angles for the piece.
Ese es un planteamiento de altura que es el que exigía la convocatoria.
And then that's just some more information about height, depth, and all those different things.
Ahí hay datos de medidas y demás del espacio que nos proporcionaron. La segunda propuesta representa al señor Chrome emergiendo desde la línea del tren.
In the second proposal, Mr. Chrome emerges from the train line.
Y hay detrás de él una piedra estela o monolito que tiene a su lado izquierdo un bajo relieve atravesado de forma vertical.
And behind him, there's a stone stele or monolith. On its left side, there's a vertical bas relief where you can see fruits representing his work in agriculture.
Y en el que podrán ver representados las frutas que hablan de su trabajo en la agricultura. A su vez, en la parte posterior de este monolito grabaremos un mapa del área de Homestead.
And on its back of the monolith, we will engrave a map of the city of Homestead.
Y a sus pies la placa también que nos habla de su tiempo de vida.
And at Mr. Chrome's feet, like in the last proposal, we will have a plaque mentioning his name and lifespan.
Otra vista.
And then again, the information, the height and all that other information.
Thank you. Council, any comments? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. It's beautiful also. I love the use of coral. I love the railroad tracks. Are those holes in the stone behind him in this one? The rectangles and squares?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are those holes? ¿Son huecos adentro de la
Sí,
piedra?
en todos está la piedra, variedad de cítricos y el aguacate, que fueron...
But
Oh, sí, perdón. Son espacios vacíos que comunican a la parte de atrás del monolito.
what do you see that doing for it?
Para establecer una comunicación visual con el elemento de enfrente al de atrás, pero al mismo tiempo fue crear una especie de transparencia entre el objeto y el que está detrás del monolito. Es un elemento pesado, es un elemento fuerte y que nos permita al acercarnos poder ver al otro lado. Fue darle respiración, es algo básicamente estético.
It's mainly an aesthetic choice, one to create a connection between the person who's standing behind looking at the map and the sculpture on the other side.
That was it in a
Es un
nutshell.
elemento estético.
Okay. I was just curious to see if it had to do with how the light would come through, the sunlight, but I understand.
Sí, más que una luz proyectada es para que el que está mirando la escultura desde atrás pueda comunicarse con el elemento de frente.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Anybody from the public?
Hi, beautiful sculpture. I would like to see it in the round, the figure, because it looks like you have a wall on one side, and we really have people milling around the plaza. So I really didn't care for the second version of the stand. That's all, but it's beautiful sculpture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sorrentino. All right, well, thank you. We're going to hear the next presentation.
Yes, the next presentation is the online presentation from Carlos Prada.
And this is the artist who gave us the presentation, who did the Reagan sculpture in Tropical Park.
Correct.
Just for frame of reference.
Correct.
Thank you. We are ready when you are.
Can you hear me? No.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. First, thank you so much for considering my proposal, and I'm really honored to be here sharing with you today my perspective on this call. As we all, as all artists have commented before, yes, we have to try to present a portrait of Mr. Crumb in trying to tackle more, both of his passions. Or we have first his immense ability for the engineering, and then we have second his passion for horticulture. So my proposal includes basically a representation of the human a figure of Mr. Crumb standing with on a pedestal, kind of a big pedestal, and also three bronze plates. The sculpture designs aim to honor Mr. Trump for both of his roles as an engineer, surveyor, and as a horticulture. I don't know if it's possible to change the slide on that presentation. Yes, keep going. Yes. So, I would like to achieve this by including the transit compass tripod and a box with tropical fruit alongside the figure. My idea is just try to capture Mr. Crumb immersed in a contemplation about the new possibilities in the field of the horticulture around Homestead. He was changing profession while he was being very successful at working at the railroad Key West extension. That's why I also wanted to include two plates, with one depicting the railroad Key West extension and another illustrating a tropical fruit field. I have developed two small variation on the design of the base. One is can be seen is a triangular fall plant where you can see around the sculpture for all the point of view. We have plates facing at all the point of view. The other design is a little bit more frontal, what implies a strong back side of the sculpture. So I kind of prefer the first one, but still I'm open for the discussion in case this proposal gets selected. I also suggest two different locations on the City Hall Plaza. One, the eastern most corner, situated exactly across of the Miami-Dade College building, and the other one, the northernmost corner, right across of the Park Place Triangle. I will have some photos. If you can continue, please, with the slide presentation where I illustrate that. So this is the two different designs, more or less how they seem. And then keep going, please. Yeah, those are this is the first of the possible location, and then you can see some renders. So let me explain a little bit what happened behind this the decision of putting it on a pedestal. The City Hall distinctive characteristics make this location unique in South Florida. The neoclassical architecture style and the building's substantial size influence the design of my sculpture. The idea draws inspiration from historic monuments, often found in settings surrounded by buildings like the City Hall. So, in order to counteract the building imposing presence, I have planned the sculpture figure to be larger than life size. It would be, I think the measurements are over there. You can go back. It will be 9 feet tall. Yes, 8 feet tall. The figure and 6 feet the base. When we walk around the building itself, it made the human figure very small. If we place a sculpture at the life size, it's going to it's going to almost disappear swallowed by that space that is really, really big. So that's why I have presented a more classical approach in order to be in match with the architecture of the building. it would be. I mean, if you notice the light pole that you see by the sculpture, it's amazing. But it's big. Everything there is just big. It was difficult to in the first place I took a photo of myself standing around, and I felt like I was like a small ant walking around. So I feel that we need a sculpture with a little bit more size. So again, I don't want to keep talking. I think you have a lot of information right now. And maybe just to mention the second, the alternative side, please. Could you continue with the slide show? No, keep going. Yeah, this is the second one. The second one also is another large space, but it would give a little bit more room for the sculpture, I guess. But I at this point, I wanted to bring ideas from the committee because you guys have more interaction with the city of Homestead in general, with the city hall, and then your expertise and devotion for the city can really help to define to make the final the definition in case that you decide to accept my proposal. I really appreciate the opportunity. I am very I am really I feel that all of you have devoted a lot for the city. All the comments that you have done are very, very substantial. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you and hear from you again. Council, any questions, comments? Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, it's not the first time we've seen this, so another wonderful option to choose from. The only thing I wanted to say is that I think the pedestal adds more for a driving perspective. So the first corner that we saw it on, obviously that would be much more car traffic versus in the plaza, which I would probably not consider such a large pedestal. I would feel like that one would be something more that we would want to walk up to and be able to kind of see a little more face to face. So that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely, thank you. Public comment, Ms. Sorrentino?
Hi, beautiful sculpture. I love the scale, the bigness of it, whether it be on a stand or the figure itself, because our plaza is just massive, and I don't want it to get lost. So I love that. I don't know the particulars about wearing a suit and tie as a surveyor. I'm not sure. I don't know. But I know that all the pictures of William Crome didn't have a long tie. He had a bow tie. But thank you for the presentation. It looked beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further from the public, council? So, Mr. Manager, what do you need from us?
Which one do you like best?
Well, let me just start the conversation. In turn, I like them all. And there are elements of all of them that I would like to see incorporated into the one we choose. For me, the first proposal is closest to the mark that I had envisioned. I like the thought of his foot on the railroad tracks. I like the, bigger than life-size thought. Clearly, you're right, that those who have mentioned it are right. Human scale gets lost on this plaza just sitting out there. I like the informational plaques on the last proposal. And I'm just sitting here thinking that perhaps, and I agree, the base is too classical, too stodgy for me. It's not something that kids would go up to, or maybe they would, and they'd climb on it and fall off of it, and we'd have more executive sessions. So, we've got to, it's true, it's true, it's coming. Perhaps even the informational plaques and the history and the contribution could be mounted to the half wall out there, the wall underneath the column behind the statue. I've seen sculptures where the description and the history is mounted nearby so that it doesn't detract from the sculpture. But I think all in all, just the energy and the experience and the history of the first artist, and for me, coming closest to the mark, with the caveat that we need to be sure that the boots and the clothing and the tripod and everything else are historically accurate. It's a tough call, and I'd like the opportunity to sit with the first proposers and tweak it and incorporate some of those elements, the elements that all of us have seen tonight. So with that, I'll rest, and who'd like to kick it off? Sure, Councilman Roth.
Thank you. So if it were to make a decision, I do like number 1 and I like number 3. I did visit Tropical Park and see the Ronald Reagan statue there. It was very impressive to see it, and it was also elevated above the ground, and it was kind of off the beaten path a little bit, where you would have to walk to it to experience it. It wasn't readily available to the public like ours will be here. So I too also think that some of the items that need to be incorporated need to be more factual or historic that are relevant. But it would be, to me, it would be a style between those two. And I think as we work towards the final product, it's going to be something that's going to be majestic out there on the plaza. So that's all my thoughts are. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of the art itself, all of the options are beautiful. It's going to be, it's an honor to have the talent coming to the city to provide these options to us. So I want to thank the artists for their time and their input in helping us make these decisions. I loved the first rendition above the rest. So if I had to pick one right now, it would be number 1. I loved also the railroad track concept that I saw in the other one, and of course the informational. So trying to get a mix of those elements, but in terms of the expression, the action, the map in the hand, I think did it for me. So, or the notebook, whatever that is. But that would be my input for right now. Thank you.
And as an aside, I confirm today that Mr. Chrome's notebooks still exist. We could see them, and they could be reproduced to the appropriate scale. Councilman Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do appreciate all the applicants and their designs. I think they were all wonderful. However, I like the idea of the details in the first item that was presented, and the ability for us to potentially make it larger than life, to give it that extra presence. I know the others could probably incorporate that as well, but I really think the details that came in on the first presentation were the way to go, and that's where I would be leaning towards if we were to move that way.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Definitely a lot of talent in this room. Completely impressed, thoroughly impressed with the caliber of the work. For me, the first proposal was ranked the highest. I love the engagement, the eyes, the detail with the bronze sculpture. The other ones were great also, but the first one, it's like I connected with it more. So for me, it would be the first one.
Very good. Ditto, right? Okay. So, do you need more than a consensus from us? Do you need a formal direction to go?
I think it's
further
unanimous.
Okay.
A quick question. Obviously, we want the bigger than life size statue. And
Yes.
we could talk to Mr. Looning and Mrs. Looning to figure out what height that would be appropriate. What I found interesting was the location where they placed it in their example. At the end of the west entrance, at the end of the palm trees. Is that where you all would like it as well? which
Well-
fits into the pointing towards Key
Why-
West, which I
why-
think we could
why-
do for there.
Let me suggest this. Why don't we get down closer to a final version and have them do the virtual placement? I'm partial to this side of the building that's closer to where the railroad tracks and the train station actually existed. You know, kind of a focal point to those BRT and future rail riders that are coming into town. It's a connection from the past to the future. Why don't we just withhold until we have the final scale and right before we do the clay model and let them do the imaging and show us how that would work out?
Point taken.
Mayor,
We'll
if I
wait till
may.
later.
Exactly. I was going to say that this picture just shows how beautiful something artistic would go in that spot. So maybe not this bronze, but something has to go there eventually.
Sorrentino
Water?
A water feature would
Yes.
Has the answer.
be. Ms. Sorrentino has the answer, I'm sure.
Do you want to let the cat out of the bag? Okay.
On the two locations that are being considered, the two locations that are being considered, Miami-Dade or out front by the tunnel, it would mean him pointing that way or that way, be different. So don't let him point to Miami. Make sure he points to West.
As
the
I said
Keys.
earlier, I want the whole, I would like to see the whole thing oriented toward Key West.
Yeah.
The true direction of Key
Unless,
West.
of course, you're going to put it on a rotating space, but that's
It's not a
something
Christmas
different.
tree. So you have what you need from us.
I have everything I
Again,
need.
to all the artists, thank you. You know, there is a place and a time for all of your work in the future somewhere in this community. So let's get that ball rolling, because I know bronze doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, pretty good timeline, and yes. With that, I've received a text and I need to leave, so it's with great trust and confidence that I hand the gavel to the Vice Mayor to continue the meeting. There's your script. Oh, that's it. Love it. Thank you.
Oh, this feels good. Even if it's only for a few minutes.
That's going to be the longest meeting ever.
All right, moving right along. So we are now going to tab number 4, 3 or 4? 3, tab number 3. Hey, where's my, let me get a selfie. Everybody say selfie, say cheese. Tab number 3, Mr. Manager.
Are we accepting the minutes from the,
All right, any public comment? All right, tab number 4.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. In 2022, families with children account for a staggering 28% of nationwide homelessness population, and the number of individuals experiencing homelessness continues to rise year over year. The city of Homestead is not immune to this national problem, and there are only a handful of local agencies available to assist families with long-term shelter, which can result in some of these families sleeping on the streets or in cars until they can be permanently housed. In an effort to combat this problem, Mayor and Council approved an agreement with Start Off Smart, Inc. at the November 20th, 2019 Council meeting to create the Fund the Family Stabilization Program for $51,050. Since that time, the funding has provided last resort assistance to over 78 families in need of shelter, food, clothing, relocation, or utility payments. SOS would like to renew their agreement to 8 additional families at this time. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with SOS for the continued funding of the Family Stabilization Program, which is used to temporarily house homeless families or provide other essential services until they can be permanently housed in long-term shelters. The total program cost is $50,000 and may be renewed upon the mutual agreement of both parties and subject to appropriations of funds.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions from council?
Thank you. Just a question in reference to the fund itself. If organizations in the community wanted to donate funds to this program, are they able to do that?
I'm sure we can arrange something, Councilman. Absolutely. Great idea.
So this is something we can actually promote amongst all the community service agencies and things like that to continually add to the fund, because I know when I've worked with SOS in the past, it's been a funding issue with temporary and emergency housing for some of these people because the homeless shelters are already full and there's not a lot of resources. So they do such a great job in our community that we shouldn't just be limited to what city funds can do, but other private organizations as well. So if we could find that out, that would be great.
Absolutely. We'll work with Matt and we'll put something together so we could do it.
Thank you.
Any more comments from council? Any comments from the public? I will close the public hearing. Have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, second by Councilwoman Bailey. Any opposed? We will place the item on the agenda. Thank you. Tab 5.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Homestead City Hall opened to the public on March 2016, and by July 2020, city staff noted multiple exterior lights no longer functioning and exhibiting water intrusion. When staff reached out to the product manufacturer in order to enforce the warranty, it was discovered that the installer had punctured the underground housings, thus invalidating the warranty. Unfortunately, by the time that this was discovered, the project contractor, Munilla Construction Management, had declared bankruptcy. Subsequently, city staff began to attempt repairs with local electrical contractors on an as-needed basis, but with 105 lights malfunctioning, it became apparent that a piecemeal approach was neither time nor cost-effective. Staff then looked into alternative procurement methods and began to work with Gordian Group, which utilizes the Easy IQZ competitive bidding process through a cooperative purchasing network. Staff recommends the Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to approve a work order with Gordian Group for Phase 1 of the City Hall lighting replacement for an amount not to exceed $399,036.73, and to approve the work order for Phase 2 in an amount not to exceed $334,463.58, and Phase 3 in an amount not to exceed $235,739.41, subject to funding appropriations.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from council? Any public comment? I'll entertain a motion to place the item on the council agenda. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey. Oh, public comment. Come on up, Ms. Sorrentina.
It dawned on me that these sculptures are going to need lighting. So now that you're doing the lighting over anyway, wherever you decide to put it, it's going to need at least 2 spotlights somehow. So I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Good catch. Thank you. And that's a second by Councilman
question.
Fletcher. And a question. Go ahead,
Yes, so I noticed it's 3 different phases. It's noted as exterior lighting. What about the interior lighting here?
Phase 3 takes into account the Grand Hall as well as in here.
Just the wording is not
Yes,
quite there.
we'll clarify the
And we
wording.
should look at dimmable lights and ones that don't blink, so. thank
Trust
you.
me.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Tab 6.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. On December 3rd, 2021, the city entered into an agreement with Bormillo, Ajamil and Partners, Inc., BA, for the development of the city's parks master plan. Since that time, BA has conducted an inventory and assessment of current facilities and operations, multiple community workshops, and a statistically valid resident survey in order to develop plans and recommendations for the future of the city parks, facilities, and recreational programming. The attached plan and presentation is the outcome of the community-driven process that takes into account Mayor and Council's express vision for the city's Parks and Recreation Department, as well as the market and economic realities that will influence implementation and funding for the Parks Master Plan. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council make a motion to adopt the Parks Master Plan as the guiding document for the future of our city parks, and BA is here to do a presentation.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, city staff, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I'm happy to be here tonight with you to present the Parks Master Plan. It represents an effort of over a year and a half. My name is Alfredo Sanchez. I'm with Bermejo Hamilton Partners, 4711 South Lejeune Road, Coral Gables, Florida. With me tonight is Joshua Rack, a senior partner with the firm, and Randy Hollingwood, who is also a partner and director of landscape architecture and planning. I want to turn it over to Joshua Rack and have him go through the presentation and show you the work that we have carried out with your staff, working closely with Mr. Jerry Estrada, with Zachary Good and Pedro Reynaldos, and to create the master plan. And with that, Josh, I want to turn it over to you and let you do the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alfredo. Good evening, Vice Mayor, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to present this exciting project before you tonight. It's a culmination of, like Alfredo said, over a year and a half of hard work and collaboration with you as city stakeholders and leadership, city staff, and then members of the public who participated throughout the whole process. So the Parks and Rec Master Plan is a comprehensive process intended to gather information and evaluate all aspects of the city's parks, facilities, operations, and programming, and make recommendations for the future improvements to the parks and recreation system here in the city. The intent is really to take a critical look at these pools of different information, combine them with input and recommendations from this community's stakeholders, coupled with our professional expertise and our team's expertise, and making recommendations for improvements of the Parks and Rec system. So very kind of briefly, the scope of work in all Parks and Recreation master planning is essentially two different components like you see on the screen above. So it's a needs assessment, which is really all of the data points and information that we need to take a look at and understand so that we can formulate our recommendations to guide the development of the master plan components on the right side. So in this instance, the needs assessment in the city of Homestead included an inventory and assessment of the existing parks and rec facilities and amenities, programs, and operations, community workshops where we worked hand in hand with you all on the council, city staff, and then public workshops scattered throughout the city to make them as accessible as possible to as many residents as possible. And then a more kind of technical, scientific, statistical survey that Mr. Estrada alluded to in his brief introduction. Once we had kind of a full picture and all of the information collected from the needs assessment, then we were back in our studio working with our sub-consultant team and city staff, checking in back with you on the council to prepare the master plan components. The master plan consists of park planning, recommendations for improvements to recreation programming, and then an implementation and funding. So going quickly through the needs assessment, I mentioned we had 4 different community workshops. Community Workshop 1 was held in 3 different, over the course of 2 weeks, in 3 different nights at 3 different locations throughout the city. Community Workshop 2, our community workshop meeting, was at City Hall with you all in the conference room upstairs, open to the public, in December of last year. Of course, we conducted numerous one-on-one interviews for park planning. We had one-on-one meetings to discuss operations and maintenance recommendations in the city. We had numerous meetings over the course of the year and a half with city staff, and then we had an additional stakeholder meeting with the Police Athletic League for Blakey Park. There's a common trend and theme that started to come forward through the development and conducting the different workshops. The common themes and input that we received were accessibility, so desires for more park accessibility. We want people to be able to use the parks. They can get in their cars and use them, but it's also good that we can take advantage of pedestrian movement, get people on their bikes to safely use the parks. There was a lot of discussion about family-friendly amenities in the cities, more engaging playground equipment for the children, but also more comfortable shaded seating areas for the parents to oversee their children. There was a desire for additional community programs and facilities that host different community events, like movie nights. There was input that we received from parents of young children who want to have multilingual story hours for their children to go and learn multiple languages in the city programming. And then, of course, additional concerns with maintenance and safety and making sure that the parks have that curb appeal so that people feel safe. And when people feel safe, then they're going to use the parks more and take better advantage of the city's amenities. In addition, there was a desire for facility upgrades, this meaning upgraded fields and park conditions to attract tournament and events. The thought process behind attracting more tournament and events in this city's parks are we keep our athletes and our children in this city. It keeps our parents from having to take the kids to Kendall, to Pembroke Pines, or to Weston, or Palmetto Bay, wherever they're going now. If we can attract high-level coaching and high-level programs here in the city, then we can keep the kids in our city. Additionally, one of the things that I just wanted to kind of key in on is that there was a desire to make sure that the parks, facilities, and amenities in this city are inclusive, and with an emphasis on providing parks for everyone regardless of age, gender, or ability. And so if the city's going to make that focus and make sure that the park system is inclusive, and we'll talk a little bit more during the recommendations section, but doing that across the whole citywide park system. The statistically valid survey was conducted by a sub-consultant on our team, our colleagues at the ETC Institute. 2,000 surveys were mailed at random with outreach follow-up by text message and postcards. The intended target response was a goal of 400. We received 404 survey responses, which yields a confidence level between 92 and 98% on the survey information that we received. And like I said, this is more where we would receive more kind of conversational content and dialogue with the city at the workshops and the stakeholders at the workshops. This is more of kind of technical data-driven analysis aspect. So real briefly, I won't go through all. I think it's about 50 pages of questions, but we'll just key in on three important questions. The first question that you see on the screen is the level of support for actions to improve parks and recreation. The table that you see, the blue indicates very supportive. And so the bars that you see in blue with the highest levels of support have to do with developing new trails and walking paths, upgrades to existing parks, and preserving green space, parks, and natural areas. So again, you see some crossover starting to happen from the information we received at workshops with the information on the survey. The next slide that you see here is the priority investment rating for facilities and amenities. So the priority investment rating, or PIR, as you will see in the report, is a tool that the ETC Institute has created to measure the priority that should be placed on recreation facilities and programming. It's a balance of the importance that respondents who responded to the survey placed on the amenities and facilities and programs, and how many residents have unmet needs for these items. And so for facilities and amenities, the table that you see on the screen, the respondents ranked walking and hiking trails, natural areas, parks, spray grounds, splash pads, and multi-purpose trails highly, which are the values that you see at the top of the table. Programs drive the amenities that are in facilities. So when we take the same question for the priority investment rating for recreational programs, there was a high priority placed on adult fitness and wellness, family events, nature programs, all of which the respondents felt should be prioritized in the development of the master plan. So as that survey was being conducted, we were taking a look at the city-wide distribution of parks from a high-level planning level. What you see on the screen is the distribution of different size parks and facilities within the city of Homestead. I do want to just point out, once you place kind of these service distribution radii on top of the plan, you can see there are some gaps in the far northeast and the northwest outlined in red. The city's comprehensive plan, the recreation open space element, does require a commitment to utilize and maintain a level of service of 3 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents. The parks in aqua and yellow and red, and then the large one in the Homestead Sports Complex in purple, that represents 3.21 acres per 1,000 people. So presently speaking, the city is meeting the minimum requirements for park space per 1,000 residents. In those areas that you see on the east side, there is additional open space that doesn't count towards the 3.21 acres, but those areas are representing the small green dots, and those are public HOAs that provide additional open spaces servicing their residents. As you start to go from kind of the high-level planning, we've conducted a thorough assessment of the park's inventory, the individual park facilities. So this high-level assessment was our observations and physical surveying, visual surveying of the park's locations. We took at location, context, programs within each of the parks, the different elements in the parks, and then their conditions. And then we include documentation of initial observations, issues, opportunities that we identified, and preliminary recommendations to improve the parks based on those observations. Beyond the park service areas and facilities, we had a Parks and Recreation and Operations programming expert on our team as well, and he was doing an assessment of the programs within the city's facilities. What he found was that there are few recreation programs being offered by the city. However, most of them, the city is relying on outside organizations for contractors to provide programming within the city. Excuse me. The 2 community centers do have limited programming, but there is no programming currently at the city's pool. And the study does recommend that fee setting should be guided by a comprehensive fee policy, and tracking additional programming metrics would be helpful to guide future decision-making in the city. From an operations standpoint, the city is doing a good job with what you have in the parks that the city currently operates. However, if the goal of these efforts is to improve service to the community, we would recommend that the organizational structure benefit from a higher level of staffing to serve that increased effort to improve the community with the park space. And that goes the same for operations and maintenance. If the intent is to increase the overall level of care and user experience in the city's parks, funding to operations should also be increased. Lastly, it's very important for the city to develop very clear operational policies and procedures and key performance indicators, which would help the city measure and document the procedures and policies. So with that said, I've kind of gone through a high-level overview of the needs assessment and all the different information points that we've analyzed and assessed as part of that. And then, we'll start to transition into more of the specific master plan recommendations included in the report. So the way that the report is organized, it has kind of general park design excellence. And the purpose of this section is to provide clear guidelines for the design of specific elements within the city's park system. What you'll see is these are based very much on the input that we received during the needs assessment at the different workshops and through different conversations and one-on-one interviews. These elements were kind of the most common that were provided as part of the input gathering at those meetings. So for instance, park design Excellence will provide guidelines for the development of splash pads and spray grounds within city parks. These we'd recommend to be very active theming, interactive elements, inclusive play areas. Of course, we want integrated seating and shade for the parents to be comfortable at the spray grounds, and year-round functionality. Another item in the park design excellence is the response to emerging sports trends. I think it won't be a surprise to anybody that pickleball is here. Pickleball players are here, and they're some of the most active people in our public workshops that we've conducted in the city. And there's recommendations for converting or retrofitting existing courts with flexible use striping and temporary nets, and also opportunities to introduce permanent pickleball courts elsewhere in the city. I think the city is currently doing a good job in undertaking the revamping of a lot of the playground equipment that you see in the city parks. But some of the input that we received was to provide design guidance on kind of creating these more themed designs or ninja courses for kids to be able to engage with and be challenged by. We want to make sure that playgrounds engage the imagination of children with climbing geometric structures and towers like you see. And most importantly, they need to be able to cater to all ages and abilities, which takes us to the section on universal design for inclusivity. We not only want to challenge all children of ages and abilities, but not only children, they should be able to challenge physically, and design should be for inclusivity of children with physical disabilities, but also developmental disabilities and sensory issues. So the thought was then through our discussions was, does that happen at one park and the kids can go and take advantage of those fun playground equipment and fun opportunities at that park? Or is this city want to make an effort to be a leader and have elements that cater to all the children and users at all the parks? And we think a recommendation in the report would be to incorporate those concepts throughout the park system. These pictures are located, I don't know offhand, I can find them for you. They're from vendors' handbooks, and they have special sections in their catalogs that they have these types of playground equipment. I'd be glad to get that information for you. There's also design guidance for the creation of uniform park furniture. So park furniture, including signage. We feel from a design standpoint that visual consistency enhances the park's identity, creates a unique sense of place for the city of Homestead, and shows a commitment by the city for this refined design excellence in their parks. From an operational standpoint, uniform park furniture provides you, one bench or two benches to have to store and maintain and repair, one waste receptacle, one light post. So the more you can standardize it, the ease of maintenance and repairs comes with future maintenance of those elements. And then the last kind of general park design guidance included in the report is the improved landscape environment through the use of native, drought-tolerant, and low-maintenance plant materials, providing shade and channeling of breeze, so those natural passive cooling opportunities, you got to take advantage of that. And multimodal accessibility. So interesting, we had the freebie presentation earlier in today's agenda, but an emphasis on connecting parks to the surrounding residential neighborhoods, whether it's freebie or pedestrians, bicycles, and scooter rentals, incorporate places so that people can access the parks using those types of amenities throughout the city. Does nothing more than just bring more people to the parks, using the parks, creating that sense of community, and giving people a place to enjoy themselves. As we move into the master plan, we organized it based on the east and west sector that you see on the map above. Regarding the west sector, You know, Blakey Park is a great opportunity to do almost a full revamp of the park space. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail on Blakey Park before we go through the other parks briefly. But improvements may include, you know, improved entrance to the park at Southwest 6th Avenue, landscape buffering around the park space, especially the track area where the residential is, upgraded fitness equipment, a new multi-purpose field, and covered bleachers. So again, you can host different types of athletic events if this were the case of updates at Blakey Park. And then moving to the south side of the park, there's an opportunity to expand the current facility that's there with an improved gymnasium and new flex use rooms that could be available for city events or community events. An improved parking lot and drainage area on the east side of the building. We would propose relocating, to be able to accommodate the field, relocating the playground structure to the south side of the park with a new shade structure, placing roof lighting, an airnasium above the basketball courts to kind of further protect and make it more comfortable to play basketball in the area, and then a new bathroom building adjacent to the playground equipment with a flexible use. We're showing a soccer field there, but that could be a flexible use open space for additional city sports programming. So on the screen, you know, we went through an exercise in kind of planning different amenities and programs based on the information we received and improvements to the different larger community parks. With a more comprehensive list of recommended improvements. These may include updated building facilities within the parks, new sports fields, surfaces, internal circulation improvements, and landscape buffering to each of the larger community parks. Whereas in the neighborhood parks that you see on the screen here, the recommendations may include updated landscaping, the treatment of multi-use open space areas to give the city a little bit more flexibility in the way that they program the different spaces in the neighborhood parks, court resurfacing, modernization of playgrounds and play structures, and shade structures on each of the playgrounds. Lastly, the report includes recommendations to the civic community centers. These improvements are more targeted in nature, including installation of shade structures and turf field or turf open space at the amphitheater in Losner Park, and other updates at the community centers. I think the pickleball enthusiasts will be happy to see the possibility of new pickleball courts at the Dickinson Community Center here in the city. On the east sector is kind of highlighted, counterpart to Blakey Park is the Homestead Sports Complex project. And so the Homestead Sports Complex project improvements may include enhanced baseball facilities, new pickleball courts, basketball courts, tennis courts, soccer fields, pump track, a community center, lakefront boardwalk trail. I'm gonna run out of breath. Competitive 400 meter running track. So this park is the premier park in the city of Homestead, and you can almost go through all of the input that we received during the workshops and the input that we received in the statistical survey, and this park is going to go a long ways in satisfying all of those wants, needs, and desires and hopes and dreams for everybody that participated in the project. So this is going to be a fantastic facility here in the city. We also took a look at improvements to Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park, highlighted by new exercise stations, potentially new artificial turf, soccer fields, and flexible use areas. And then again, for the pickleball enthusiasts, taking advantage of some of the open space at Audubon Park, introducing pickleball courts, and then upgraded and updated playground equipment. So for Parks and Recreation programming, it's highly recommended to establish a clear programming philosophy, documenting it, and then every decision that's made from that point forward upholds that programming philosophy. The subsequent programming plan shall be developed to support that philosophy. To support new program areas, we recommend that the city explore additional contracts and utilize outside providers on a referral basis. And as this plan is developed, you can then adjust your staffing plan in-house and budgets for implementing these concepts. On the operations and maintenance side, it's critical to establish a staffing philosophy and outline a clear succession plan for key staff. The city needs to continue operating on a 5-year capital improvements plan horizon, but it's critical to have other policies and procedure plans in place. This would include maintenance management for the Parks and Recs Department, a marketing plan, and fee policies. So across the board, we mentioned in the assessment section, but it should be noted that an increase in staffing is recommended. On the implementation side, Chapter 9, I believe, is separate standalone document is an implementation plan. It's been organized into different planning horizons, so early action, midterm, and long-term, starting at 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, and 7 to 12 years on the long-term side of things. And so these were defined based on classifications for, the complexity of required investment or amount that's needed for investment, the availability of funding and funding levels, project timeline for design and complexity of design and permitting, impacts on phasing for other improvements in the city, and then the level of community support that we heard throughout the process. From a funding standpoint, the report does provide recommendations for different funding sources. Again, general funds are stable and predictable, but those are funds that are in competition with other funding priorities for the city. So there are an abundance of grants that are available to fund improvements to parks and recreation and open spaces. However, relying solely on grants tends to be difficult because there's limits to what those funds can be used for and when they become available. So the last option for funding could be a bond referendum, which is a democratic mechanism for financial decision-making, provides you an immediate influx of capital, and then you make the implementation of the different parks and recreation items based on the implementation plan. But it goes without saying that in the future, there'll be more finalized park designs and programs, improvements to the parks and open spaces. They'll forgo additional development in detail. But the process doesn't stop today. The process continues and moves forward. The opportunities for additional input and feedback as facilities and programs are developed and funding is identified to fund the different improvements. An approval today or at the next council meeting does not mean it's a blanket approval for all of the different recommendations in the report. All it does is signifies the next step in starting to implement these concepts, and then any future development or redevelopment of parks and open spaces and programming would require review and approved final designs by you all on the dais here, and then the programming prior to any construction. So we urge everybody to stay involved, keep your foot on the gas pedal, and start implementing these fantastic plans for the future parks of Homestead. So thank you.
Thank you. Excellent presentation. Really gives us some insight as to all the work that we need to do to improve our park system here in the city of Homestead. I'm going to open up to council now for any comments or questions they may have for the applicant. Councilman Roth.
Thank you. So, yeah, beautiful presentation. By looking at this, we'll have some state-of-the-art facilities for the residents. My question to staff is, how do we pay for all this?
That's an excellent question, Councilman. This is really the first step. Accepting the Parks Master Plan, which is going to be the guiding document for the city moving forward. This is a document that can help us go out on the street for a general obligation bond to go ahead and fund all these improvements to all these parks. This is the first step.
All right, what are you waiting for?
For you all to vote yes.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I wanted to thank our partners here in taking all the feedback we've given you. I know that I spent probably at least an hour, if not longer, on the phone with you both, and I really felt heard, and I feel that seeing the presentation, I can see where the final presentation has different variances from what's in our book, so that means you continue to work on it and making sure that our feedback was taken into consideration. Specifically, the points on accessibility, making sure that the plan, not just for us, but for future generations of council members, continue to take those items that are very important into consideration. Inclusivity for all, abilities, and at all the parks, and that was important to me as well, to not just segregate these individuals that need special type of play equipment to one park and making it available citywide. I was curious to know if on the Losner Park plan, if you thought maybe having a water feature or some kind of splash pad was not really a good idea. Is that why it didn't make the list?
Well, regarding the design of the features within Losner Park, I would ask Randy. He's our director of design, so he might be able to speak a little bit about utilizing. I know he wasn't expecting this, but he does design all of our water features, and I think he would be able to add to the.
Thank you, Randy. And while you're considering the answer, I just recently visited the square in West Palm Beach. It's a related group project. Okay. And they have a beautiful mosaic art feature that has a water interactive with it. And so when Losner Park was initially designed and we were all contemplating this, it had a water feature included in it. It didn't for budget reasons, it was cut. Oh. But for planning purposes, I think the idea was hopefully to maybe have it come back. So with all that information.
Thank you. Randy Hollingworth, Bermeo Hamil. I'm a very strong proponent of water features. We've done quite a few. We did the one in Deerfield Beach, which is a huge 50-foot circle mosaic tile of about 5 million pieces of mosaic. It shows the history of Deerfield Beach, and it was created by the children in the schools. So it's a huge opportunity to get people involved, and they're very, very popular. There are a couple things, though, when you have an interactive water feature that become very important, like restroom facilities have to be there. They also put a heavy demand on parks because people use them like swimming pools because they don't have it's easier to take your child to an interactive water feature than it is go to the pool because you don't have to do all that changing and there's not the whole effort done at an interactive water feature. But I don't think that's a reason not to have one. I would totally support one. I think Losner Park's a fantastic place. I don't remember, I've been there. Are there restrooms freestanding at Losner?
We share the restroom with the Seminole Theater currently.
Okay.
There might be some additional restrooms coming into play with the restaurant maybe coming. Go ahead.
In fact, we're working with the contractor, finally closing out the project, and they're going to build some bathrooms for us.
Okay, because that is the one thing that you have to have for a splash pad is a bathroom facility within a certain distance of the splash pad. The health department will not let you, do it that. I think they're great too because you don't have to have fences or anything, and they don't have the same requirements as a swimming pool, so they become very interactive with the park. I did a park in Tampa, in Hyde Park, Kate Jackson Park, and I mean, this thing turns into a party for kids and families on weekends for parties and birthdays and the splash pad and the interactive on the courts and everything. So it is a great opportunity. They do have a high maintenance bill, as I know the city will know from James Archer Smith Park. So they are expensive to operate. So.
Very well, thank you. But for design purposes, it's not a definite no. You can't, for design purposes, it's.
I think that the challenge would be finding the space because I've walked around the park and it's pretty heavily programmed with the playground, which is amazing. And you've got the amphitheater and everything. So I don't know whether there's a space dedicated or potentially for it. I didn't see any.
There was originally between the playground and the amphitheater mall where people would sit down. There was a spot there that we're going to put
space between.
Yes.
Okay. No, that's fantastic.
Thank you. And then one of my other takeaways was with regards to JD Red and Harris Field, their concession stands. I don't see any feedback or commentary on whether or not we should be focusing on improving the concession.
So the plan does provide recommendations in the parks to kind of modernize and improve existing building facilities in each of the parks, and that typically would include if there's bathroom buildings or concession buildings. We would make recommendations to kind of provide upgrades to those, just to bring them up to the quality that the city's parks system is going to be at that point in the future.
Thank you. And then I've received feedback oftentimes with regards to JD Red Park on basketball, bringing basketball there. So I'm curious to hear about any feedback you guys had with considering basketball there. Currently, there's none. I see that we're adding pickleball.
No, I don't recall any specific feedback about basketball at JD Red. The plan does address the basketball at Blakey Park, putting the cover, kind of airnasium it's called. It's not enclosed space, but it's a covered space so that you can kind of activate that at all hours, regardless of rain or precipitation. I mean, wind might be a problem, but how often is it too windy? So that was the kind of one of the recommendations throughout the different workshops that we had, is to kind of make that improvement at Blakey Park.
Thank you. And then lastly, with regards to the building at Harris Field that's currently rented to a tenant, and the gym is utilized by some programming, do you have any sections in here specifically on that?
Yes, so the master plan report, it provides a recommendation, that the programming and use of that building would require additional kind of economic feasibility study and additional in-depth study. So the master plan does make a recommendation that if that's something that this council is interested in seeing, we do recommend that having a much more detailed kind of feasibility study attached to it.
Thank you very much. I'll rest there.
Thank you, Councilwoman Avila. Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, I wish we could say, let's do it all, start now. But just two basic questions. So from what I understand, the programming and the details on specifics is something that we'll still have in front of us again. This is just a baseline to be able to go out. And then the other thing would be to know, are we also thinking of maybe focusing on a few first? Will there be a line? Do they all kind of start with a little piece?
Well, right now, we're constantly applying for grants. If you
Sure.
look at JD Red, we've redone the fields, the baseball netting, a new playground as well. So as those grants are coming in, obviously, we're taking care of those particular projects. But I think the important thing here is, once again, it's now that we have this master plan, is to take a very hard look at that general obligation bond. Because that's really going to get you the park system that you're truly working for. Because if it's grant-based, it's going to take forever,
Sure.
right?
No, definitely kudos to Parks, the two new playgrounds. We have tried it out already multiple times. Very neat. I love the unique take that you're going with that. And I would just offer to please, if we have to focus on a few first, that it be the sports complex along with Blakey and Roby. I think that is more than fair, and it would just make a huge difference to both the east side and the west side. So please keep that in mind. Thank you, and thank you for the great presentation.
Welcome. Thank you.
Councilwoman, Councilman Fletcher.
Yes, thank you. So, great presentation. A lot of good ideas that we are already incorporating into some of the things we're doing already. Okay, sports complex, other things of that nature. Question, when was the last Parks Master Plan approved?
I was going to say seven.
And how well did we follow that plan?
Actually, I believe all of the recommendations, except one, which was for an East Side Park, all except one were followed and implemented.
Okay, over a period of 25 years.
Yes.
Okay. What is the standard for renewing a Parks Master Plan? So we talk about this in the future. Is it 5 years, 10 years? What's the standard for most communities?
I think implementation is one question that we have to ask. In our experience, we did Pompano Beach, and it took about 12 years to do a major park because you had to go through the bond process. And the bond process is kind of detailed because you have to have preliminary designs, you have to have a general idea, a more precise idea of what it's going to cost, because you don't want to go out to a bond referendum with just general ideas of cost. So usually cities do master plans within 15, 20 years. It varies by the city, but usually the implementation process, that's what we showed, 7 to 12 years for the long-range parks, because of the whole procedure of doing plans, getting financing. It's very complex. And I think you're right in the two parks you're mentioning, Blakey Park and the sports complex. Blakey Park, we met with the police officers, and they have a dire need to expand the building. They don't have enough facilities to be able to address all their needs as far as, spaces for student activities, and then connecting that building with the area in the back. That building is kind of divorced from everything, so that's an important part to address. And of course, the sports complex will be a major regional draw for the city, at the level of the city that should be happening. So it's a long process. Getting projects implemented takes time. It's major projects, and it's a lot of research and a lot of work has to be done to be able to get people to vote on the referendum. So I hope I answered your question.
Oh, you did, thank you, and just
And by the way, the early action projects that we usually include in these master plans are to show commitment on the part of the city, that the city is committed to implement the plan. So we chose projects that were very, very easy to implement to show that commitment. Then midterm projects are more complex, and then of course the large projects that are very, very complex to implement. Thank you.
From my perspective, I think each of us are committed to doing this. However, when it comes to bond referendums, we have one park that's going to be close to $90 million, and we haven't even discussed going out for bond referendums yet. We've been trying to budget it and get, grants and things of that nature to help us move forward, but in today's day and time, cost is everything to the people right now. And as things get more expensive, some of these things are going to fall down on that priority list. But we still have to kind of maintain some focus on it as well so we don't lose sight. Because the city's still growing, and we still got to provide certain services. But we got to do it at a cost-effective manner as well. So we have to look at this from both sides.
We agree. And right now, for the sports complex, we're already doing the architectural and engineering.
Right.
Our plans is to have completed, permitted plans ready to go. And then at that point, we could go out for solicitation and get an actual price of what it's going to cost to do that park.
As far as parks staffing goes, I know we've increased that. Are we doing something similar that's being presented here? Are we meeting what they're asking for?
Right. We hired 3 new, more of a management level type positions already at parks to go ahead and help us take care of the existing park system that we have right now. Also, we made some changes in some of the positions, giving them more responsibility. And so, yes, we're already addressing this by bringing more people into the park system.
And my last comment will be, they talk about staffing succession plans. The history in the city of Homestead has not been very good at staffing succession planning across different departments. So let's make sure we put that on the top priority as well.
Well, we're lucky. Both Pedro and Alex are very young men, so I'm sure they'll be here for a long time.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, gentlemen.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher. Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I love the specificity and the detail. I'm particularly interested in the playground areas and ensuring that they are inclusive and able to be accessed by children of all ages. Considering this is a long-range plan and it's going to require funding that we don't have in order to bring this to full fruition, I am thinking about short-term wins. What can we do now to elevate the experience in our parks? Because historically, we have focused on maintenance and not so much experience. So what can we do now as opposed to waiting to for a bond referendum and then for the rollout of this plan? Our residents and our children and my toddler needs the experience now. So what are some quick wins that we can implement?
Thank you. Well, on the facility side, we've already debuted 2 brand new playgrounds this year. Blakey Park is also on the CIP for this year as a new playground experience. We have increased our events and recreation funding. So I think I went through the calendar. There's an event almost every single weekend from November through the end of next fiscal year. So we're very excited to be able to roll out, some new signature events as well as smaller kind of pop-up events, to which actually Pedro and Alex have brought out a new idea for mobile recreation. So we're going to be converting a former wastewater truck to our SWAT vehicle, the Super Wacky Activities Truck. So that will be a mobile vehicle that can go to parks and events with different, the yard games, the basketball hoops, all kinds of different pop-up activities.
I think Pedro mentioned that to me and showed it to me, I guess from a conference he went to. He
Yes,
just got
yes.
that idea. I think that's very creative. Relative to the events and recreation, you said that you have a calendar for the different type of events that will be rolled out in the community?
Yes, we do. We were just finalizing it this last week, and we'll make sure that all of you get that on your calendars.
Are they different?
Yes, they are.
Because I know we had a conversation over dinner in West Palm Beach and kind of talked about some creative programming that we can implement in the city that is perhaps low cost and doesn't force us to revitalize a park, but bring in a program, an event, an activity for all ages. So did you consider some of those events that we discussed as you met with Parks and Rec?
Yes, we are expanding on our already successful movie nights. Now we're having 2 a month. So we'll have one that rotates around to different parks that capitalizes on the different sports programs that we have, as one that will be housed in downtown at the Losner Park, and will incorporate programming from Cybrarium and other community organizations to have story times and those little smaller family activities directly before the movie starts.
Did you consider, what was it? They had like yoga in the park, they had music in the park, arts in the park.
Yes,
So that we consider those?
Yes, we're considering those to be as part of those events, to be like a before activity as people arrive, especially as we get later into the summer season and those movies need to start later in order for it to be dark. We'll be able to have a longer event before.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to seeing the events and programming so that I can provide some more feedback.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Avila.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask, similar to how the Cybrarium has a really nice, clean, fun calendar to look at with all the activities, I'd like to see something similar with our parks, and maybe kind of mirror some of the stuff that the Cybrarium has. I think right now, to see the calendar for the parks, you have to go to the city website and you click it, and it's not user-friendly, it's not easy to look at. So if we can have something like that, that can be distributed online, call it, I don't know, City Kids Calendar, something fun that parents can put on their refrigerator, and kids could say, oh, look, Mom, tonight's a movie night, or look, there's yoga in the park, or, a tea party in Woodcop. I don't know, just some ideas.
We
But I
could
would like to
definitely put something together, yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I wanted to ask if the Homestead Sports Complex, the lake area, is that going to include water sports?
We're literally looking at everything right now. We're thinking of basically a boardwalk actually going around the entire lake, being elevated, with certain parts of it that'll go into the lake, and there'll actually be a gazebo on the lake where people can hang out, have a picnic, things of that nature. But definitely canoeing, paddle boards. Some people mentioned zip lines. I don't know about a zip line on the lake. But definitely we're looking at multiple alternatives here for that lake. It's an amazing jewel right there. We just need to make it shine.
Okay, great. And I'm also a bit confused as to what our plan is, our future for Harris Field, the gym, the tenant area. Where are we going with the pool? Where are we going with that entire area?
Well,
what is the plan?
We've been speaking to Le Jardin. They've come and spoken to us. They're interested in expanding their existing operation, but with the component that after hours, the community can come and use the gym or things of that nature. The pool, they're not interested in, but I think that's, once again, another key component that the city can go ahead and take advantage of. That's an amazing facility right there just on the pool. So we're definitely looking at activating that as well. The gymnasium, as you know, Luma Day is there. There's constantly use of the gymnasium. The problem is a lot of people are always asking for the same time period, and that's one of the challenges there. But once again, that's an amazing facility for down here.
Okay, in regards to the pool, to reactivate that pool, would it need to be resurfaced? Or just filled with water?
The pool would require a significant amount of repair and maintenance before it could be open to the public. The other requirement there is the restrooms as well. The restrooms are currently only accessible through the old YMCA facility, which is, as you've seen, not in great repair. So we would need to either renovate those restrooms or create new restroom accessibility in order for that to be viable in the short term.
What I would not like to see happen is that pool facility go on for years and years and years and nothing come of it. So unless we start planning to do something and get a plan behind it, I think that's probably what's going to happen. We're just not going to pay attention to it until somebody big, we're going to wait on this big development to come to take over.
Like I said, Vice Mayor, we've already been talking about it. So we're contemplating how we can go ahead and bring that facility back to life. But like Zach said, one of the key components there is not only resurfacing and getting back in operational form, it's the bathrooms. That's going to be the major stumbling block there.
Okay. So open up for public, okay, Councilman Roth?
Yeah, just a thought, because my colleague at the end mentioned some quick wins, right? So to offset some of the expense of the sports complex, that lake that we're talking about adding water sports or water features to, couldn't we do some kind of a public-private partnership and allow a vendor to come in and operate that and pay the city some monies to help with the upkeep of that stuff? So in other words, paddle boats, little sailboats, maybe canoe rentals, maybe paddleboard rentals. And that's just one thought for the lake. And another thing that, since we have the baseball component out there, maybe privatizing and adding batting cages out there as well, where our athletes here, the closest batting cage that they have access to is Tropical Park. So a vendor certainly would benefit from a batting cage scenario and attracting folks probably as far as Pinecrest and Palmetto Bay to come down and utilize the facility here versus going to Tropical Park. So bringing some vendors in to help support the city's efforts in bringing that park to be, I think is something we need to actually look at as well.
Councilman, do you have a listening device in my office or something like that? Because literally we're talking to other parties to bring in private parties. A good example is Soccer 5. We've been talking to them for a while, as well as somebody to go ahead and activate the lake area as well. Nothing fixed yet, but we've talked to people, reached out to people. Sometimes they don't respond to us, you know how that is, but we're already looking into that as we speak.
You know, the other consideration with the two lakes out there, not the smaller lake in the front, but the bigger lake, is the ability to control the invasion of alligators to the area, because that one has alligators in it now.
Yes, we work with the company to go ahead and get them out, but that was kind of the genesis of the elevated boardwalk. That was one of the concerns. If we were just to do a little asphalt trail around the lake, you know, it's easy for somebody to come down to the edge as opposed to something elevated and with rails, making sure, you know, the kids can't fall in, things of that nature. So that's where that idea came in from.
Thank you, Councilman Roth.
Vice Mayor, just to comment on that real quick. A couple of years ago, we did reach out to a couple of those different water park people One was Greg Norman Jr., but he got tied up in the Live Golf, so he just kind of stepped out of the limelight. But maybe we ought to look at recontacting them. And then there was an offer from we talked about possibly putting a building on the lake that could be like a grill or something at one time, and where we could bring in a private entity to come run like a cafe with a sidewalk and a little
The first
boardwalk
one you
there.
mentioned, I remember. The second one, it's not ringing a bell.
Just something to
with me.
think about. There's different ways to activate that. You know, we just need to look at different options. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman
Thank you.
Fletcher. I'll go ahead and open up now for public comment.
It looks wonderful. I just want to, I have a solution. Art in public places, you could do an interactive art piece in the parks. We have funds to do that. You just need to put out a call to artists. Decide on the park and put out a call of an interactive sculpture, and it could happen right away, you know, within the realm of call to artist. Also, in 2022, there was a proposal from, I think it was Florida Gas Company. They have $100,000 in lieu of funds for us. They had done a presentation to do cement, like sculptures that kids could climb on and stuff for Harris Field. That was all put on hold. They wanted to finish it by the end of the last year of 2022. So there's $100,000 there in lieu of funds. Maybe ask them if in Harris Field or wherever, they chose Harris Field, that they want to spend that $100,000 on an interactive sculpture. I think, you know, and that doesn't cost us anything because the funds are there. So just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Oh, and the boardwalk that goes around, consider art in public places. So as you walk, there might be, you know, rest areas with a sculpture of some sort. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Sorrentino, 2022, right?
Yeah, it was.
Florida Gas?
Yeah, Florida Gas, they wanted to finish it by December of 2022. I believe they were told it was on hold because of renovations. But the project was never approved. I had just seen it, but it was kind of like setting out there. But there's $100,000 in lieu of funds. Okay. Maybe look at what other in lieu of funds there are out there, and then do a call to artists for our parks. Our parks is where people will see the art. So that's just my suggestion.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, will you look into that for us, please?
Absolutely, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Hello, sir. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Trevon Brown. I'm a coach at different levels of basketball, high school, currently high school, the travel basketball, and also recreational. I like the path of renovation of the basketball gyms and the movement of the facilities. But my main goal would be just being able to expose the different things, like she said, the experiences of the park. So I'm big on experience, just giving the kids the experience. Having tournaments down south would be big. In travel basketball, the closest tournaments we have to go to is in Broward. There's no tournaments down here. Nothing in Kendall, Fort Myers, there's no tournaments. So we got to go all the way to Broward. So just bringing something down south for the culture and Homestead itself, basketball itself and Homestead is something that I want to bring.
Thank you. Let me ask you, you're familiar with the gym we have here at the old YMCA, right?
Yes.
Is that gym big enough for tournaments?
Yes.
But it doesn't have bleachers.
Yes.
We'd have to add some bleachers to create tournaments, right?
Yes.
And you said there aren't any tournaments as far as none in Kendall, none in, what's the closest tournament you've been to?
Closest tournament, well, I currently have my own tournament in 2022, and at the gym that you spoke about, we was able to grab chairs and as far as for the fans. But in order to do something bigger, as far as like AAU or like a bigger platform where you have different age groups, it'd be tough to do something inside of that gym. But we have surrounding gyms as far as like Blakey Park, Keysgate Charter, so we can have different gyms to host a bigger tournament.
All right, thank you very much. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I close the public comment and motion to place the car item on the agenda. Moved by Councilman Avila. Second by Councilman Fairclough Staggers. All in favor? Any opposed? Excellent. Tab number 7. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Shabbat of Homestead and Cutler Bay is requesting that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve the use of the City Hall Plaza on Monday, December 11th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. to host their annual public menorah lighting. This free event is a community-wide candle lighting ceremony open to all regardless of background or race. And I believe a representative is on the line, if there's any questions.
Thank you. Moved by Councilman Roth, second by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Public comment? Anybody on the line? Negative. All right. Moving on. Tabby, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. BYOL Motivation, Inc. is requesting that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $585 for the use of the Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park in order to host their first breast cancer awareness 5K run. The 5K run will take place on October 28th, 2023 from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. The benefit of this 5K run will not only be a fun, active physical experience, but will also help our community understand the major points of what to look for, how to react, and how to help other families and peers that are going through this illness. And I believe there's a representative here from BYOL.
Thank you. Will the applicant please come forward? Good evening.
Good evening. So it's different. So growing up, you hear breast cancer month, October. So just basically last year, I went through the whole experience. I was able to figure out what breast cancer really was and the steps that happens through breast cancer. My auntie went through breast cancer, so not only do I want to do something for her, but I want to let others know about what breast cancer is really about and what comes with it, and how to give the city a knowledge of what's really going on with breast cancer.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Vice
I know
Mayor.
that there was just a.
I'm sorry. There's no charge. It's open to the public. They could just register and run. It's more educational. So there's no charge to anybody participating in the 5K run.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Councilman Roth?
Mr. Brown, can you remind us what your acronym BYOL stands for?
BYOL stands for Build Your Own Legacy.
There you go. So for those that don't know, he's been around here for a while doing tournaments. I know I've seen you over at the park out west. What's the name of that park? Yeah, Roby George Park out there. And appreciate everything you do, the awareness, the motivation you do for our youth and our community. And now for breast cancer, I'll make a motion to move this.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Roth.
I'll second the motion. I do have a question for staff. Do we still have the breast cancer mobile going around?
That project has ended. So
All right, thank you.
Second by Councilman Avila.
Sorry, and I got a comment too, please. So you guys are very well aware that we have helped with a lot of the tournaments, so definitely Coach Brown has done some amazing things for our community, and I think it is incredibly fitting, since Councilwoman Fairclough has been our champion for breast cancer awareness, that we really tried to make this a wonderful signature event. We just had the sickle cell walk at the same park. They've been doing a great job 8 years in a row, raising awareness, and I really see this one doing the same. So anything I can ever do, you know we're here. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bailey. Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers.
Yes, I have a question. I believe we met when you first got diagnosed. Yes. We're at an event together. Yes. Yes, I remember you. I gave you my number to call. I have a question for you. Beyond the 5K, will there be an event? I see here you'll have, I guess, survivors speak about their experience. Can you just talk a little bit about what that day will look like?
Yes. So yes, beyond the walk slash run itself, we'll have different survivors talk about their experience, what they went through, give a visualized experience, showing like different images, and just educating not only the youth but the adults about what the causes and the effects that it has on a person, and not only the person but the family, how the family can help the person that's going through that process.
You just mentioned something very important, how the family could support.
Yes.
Because a caregiver's perspective is a very unique perspective. So I think their voice in this space is very powerful. So to have caregivers talk about that experience, I think would really elevate the entire event.
Okay.
And if there's anything that I can do to support you, I'll be more than willing to do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers. Anything further from council? Any public comment? I'll entertain a motion. Basic motion's already been approved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you guys so much for what you do for this community. Appreciate it. Tab 9.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The Police Department has applied for and received the $110,281 grant from the State of Florida Office of the Attorney General in order to meet the needs of crime victims through victim advocacy. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing City Manager to enter into an agreement and establish a budget for a grant award of $110,281 from the Florida Office of the Attorney General for Victim Advocacy Services for crime victims. This grant requires $27,532 in matching funds, which will be met by a Homestead police officer's salary who works with victims in collaboration with SOS.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything from council? Moved by Councilman Bailey, second by Councilman Fletcher. Any public comment? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Tab number 10.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is the sister card to the freebie presentation we had earlier this evening. This is just the interlocal agreement with the county so they can actually start operations. Staff recommends the Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing City Manager to enter into an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for on-demand transportation services.
Excellent. Anything from council? Any public comment? Motion to approve. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
I have a comment. Okay, so I was saving my comment for this section. So in some municipalities, they have signature vehicles, police cars. They have them pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I spoke to a representative from Freebury. I believe I mentioned it to you as well, because this can be paid with PTP funds, to have one of our Teslas, a signature Tesla, pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There are requirements for certain insignia to be on the Teslas, like our city logo. I believe the county, it has to say something about PTP funds or the penny sales tax. So that is required to be on there. But it can be any color, as long as we have those other requirements. So I would love for us to have a signature pink Tesla in our community. We already have our trolley that is wrapped for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I would like to request a pink Tesla as a nod to breast cancer awareness. And police department, start working on getting a police car wrapped pink.
Ma'am, thank you, Councilwoman. We actually, this month, we had a local vendor pay for us to have a domestic violence police car wrapped. So it was actually on static display this evening at National Night Out. It will also be on display in Tropical Park on October 28th for first responder awareness.
Awesome.
So there is a domestic violence police car running around town right now. It's
Next stop,
striped
pink.
in purple.
Pink one's next.
We'll do pink next. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Excellent idea, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Bailey.
Sorry, just as you mentioned the domestic violence vehicle, which looks amazing. Do you know ballpark how much that was?
I do not. I can find that figure out for you. It wasn't that much, but actually local businesses have been willing to donate. Actually, Roadway Towing, one of our local vendors, is willing to donate next time that we do something.
Oh, it looks wonderful. Thank you, Vice.
Thank you. Councilman Roth.
Yeah, it's cool. I saw it for the first time out in front. I think it was Longhorn Steakhouse this week when they had or last week when they had the tip a cop thing. And I looked at it, I was like, is this the new color of all of our cars? I was like, who approved that? But then they explained to me it was just for the, what was it you said? Domestic violence.
Yes,
It
sir.
was
Yeah,
purple.
typically we would honor Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October, but we felt the need to bring awareness to domestic violence as well, considering we're a police agency and we're constantly going to
course.
calls involving domestic violence. So we thought it would be a good opportunity
No,
to bring
it's
that.
great. It's great. And I think I remember that in years gone past, we would put, different symbols on all of the police cars. Like we did the pink ribbon one year in October, and maybe we can kind of bring that back a little bit. I know it's time consuming to bring all the units to a place to get it put on, but
Well, not to advertise, but we did make Homestead Police Department hats in pink with a pink ribbon. We're currently selling them now, and
Okay.
all the proceeds are going to go to SOS as well.
how about
So-
that? See, this is what Homestead's all about, right? I mean, we're looking out for one another. We're bringing all these great things to, to the attention of others, and that's what this Homestead City is all about. So I appreciate that, and my colleagues' comments about the pink car. So will the purple car be here year-round?
No, sir. Unfortunately, it's only for the month of October, and then we're going to, more than likely, just in forward thinking, we're looking towards the autism awareness next March.
Right.
If you haven't noticed, a lot of our officers are wearing the purple badges right now. We've also got purple patches out there that the chief approved for the month of October to actually have purple patches on their uniforms.
Great.
And moving forward, looking at breast cancer awareness in the future as well as autism awareness. Just trying to get a little more community involvement with stuff of that nature.
No, it's
So,
awesome. Awesome stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Good. We've already done tab 11, so we'll skip over to tab 12.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Due to a nationwide shortage of electrical transformer, there's a limited supply of transformers in the city's inventory. Additional inventory has been
Mr.
ordered.
Manager? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We didn't motion for the interlocal agreement, so do I have a motion? Please, so we can make sure we get this right. Tricia? Rickoff Staggers and Councilman Bailey. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor. Once again, due to a nationwide shortage of electrical transformers, there's limited supplies of transformer in the city's inventory. Additional inventory has been ordered, but lead times from the standard vendors are as long as 3 years out, and the current inventory is insufficient to meet the future demands for planned and estimated transformer replacement. Due to the nature of the emergency, the city manager's office under section 2-413, emergency purchases, has authorized an emergency purchase order to be issued to Sunbelt Solomon for the purchase of 17 transformers for a total amount of $145,481. No council action is needed. This is required by code. Whenever I do an emergency purchase, I have to come to the next public meeting and publicly notify council what I did. And if you recall, I don't know if you noticed, I had sent an email out prior to doing the emergency purchase order.
Mr. Manager, I did notice there was one on there that was 11,000. Was that for a bigger transformer? It was like one of the last ones on there.
Yeah, there were basically two sizes. I think 13 of them were the smaller size, and then there were 2 of the larger size transformer. I could get you that answer, how many KVAs and stuff.
I just wanted to make sure that was it. And I also noticed that the storm hardening project is underway in the northwest section.
Absolutely.
How's that going? Or when do we expect to complete that?
Barbara just said a year. We're a year out.
Okay, thank you very much. Any public comment? Mr. Pearl?
Not a public comment, but before we adjourn, if I could request an executive session in the case of McDonough versus City of Homestead. It's case number 21CV21538 in Miami-Dade, in United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a motion to place the emergency purchase on the agenda? No, I don't have to.
All I had to do was read it. We don't have to
Thank you.
vote on anything.
Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Just one quick question. I mentioned earlier about the buses not coming in close enough for students to be picked up. I think it would be in our best interest, at least I am not aware of what the policy is. If it is a Miami-Dade County Public School and there are students within a certain area that are attending that school, I feel like the buses need to come close enough.
Maybe we could talk tomorrow, give me more specifics, which school specifically.
If you could help share that policy with us, I definitely want to know. Just because we have, I'm sure Pioneer Village is not the only development where the buses do usually come in, but then if they route something that is on the other side of 4th Street,
Right.
that is a 3-mile radius to get around Maury and come back around because you can't go through. You've got the police station, you got to go all the way around Maury. So if they're looking at it only being 20 or 50 feet away, I want to make sure that they're taking gates and that in consideration.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilwoman Avila, second by Councilwoman Fairclough Stagger. How do you vote?
I was going to take a picture of you doing it.